So this is part 3 of lesson 12. This is our post-class debugging. I did get everything to work. So here's my live job tracker site. You can see things are working, but I will review. There are a couple small changes we needed to make in order to get this to work. So I'm just going to go over those. So not a lot of lines, a few things we need to add. First of all, in our app.js, we'll need to ensure on the server that we have this client URL, because that's, even though it's the same domain, we're allowing cross origins from our client URL. So in the Heroku panel, under my settings and configuration variables, we need to make sure as a client URL, we have our live Heroku domain here. Make sure there's no trailing slash at the end. So that was one item we want to make sure we've got, that client underscore URL, because our app.js is looking for it. In our app.js, one of the other things we need to do when we're on Heroku is we can't hard code this port in as 3000, because often the Heroku environment may have a different port as the default for Node. So I'm going to take out that app.listen command, and instead I'm going to declare a variable called port. We're going to set it equal to our process.environment.port or port 3000. So it will fall back to 3000, but Heroku often defines this port with a different value. So then we'll call app.listen and we'll pass in port as a variable. So it might be 3000, but it might be something else that the Heroku environment assigns. So that's our second change in our app.js. We also need to make a little change to our package.json file. There were a couple of scripts here we need to add. We need both a starting script as well as a starting development script. So the start dev script runs on our own machine. So after the test script, I'm going to add a script called start. Heroku will need this. So we want Heroku to start our app using the node process and to run our app.js. And to run things locally this way, we've also got a start:dev command, where this time we're going to use nodemon with app.js. There's one more little small issue I identified with the JavaScript bundle we generated in our Angular front end. I'll actually just open up the Angular client for a minute, the jobs client. I'll show you the problem, really small problem. So it was in our production, our server URL, we have this slash at the end. Now this causes a problem because our service takes that URL and also appends a slash. So in my environment file, my production environment, I should take out that trailing slash. Now I could run, there's a couple ways we can clean this up in our bundled version. I could either run ng build once again and copy all these files, or I could simply go to the JavaScript file, this file called under public and main in the server app. And if I do a search here for the word Heroku, it'll take me to the server URL, and notice there's this trailing slash at the end of the URL. I want to take that out because we already have the slash in our service calls here. So we don't want those double slashes. So when I made all of those changes, push to GitHub, you can now see that my job tracker is working online at my live domain with those 4 changes. So you can review all the code in the server repository, the job server, which is now on GitHub.